I'm going to go through drills 8, 9, and 10 of the joining and separating sentences to get you ready for your quiz next week. Passage 8. With its bright round eyes, furry body, and vividly striped tail, the lemur is among the most fascinating and mysterious creatures in the animal kingdom. Because of its haunting stare and preference for nighttime activity, the lemur is named after the Latin word for ghost. So we've got this semicolon here, which indicates that it should be two complete sentences, but the word because, the subordinated conjunction, makes this not a complete sentence. So a semicolon will not work because the first one is dependent. If the semicolon will not work, the period also will not work because it's exactly the same. So we know A and D are both wrong. We do need some kind of punctuation, though, between the dependent clause and the independent clause. So we need that comma. When the dependent is first, you need the comma. Number 2, millions of years ago, this ancient primate is believed to have sailed on clumps of vegetation from the African mainland to the island of Madagascar, complete sentence, where it has lived largely in isolation ever since. Not a complete sentence. The word where is a subordinating conjunction, so that makes the second sentence here a fragment, a dependent clause. So the period will not work. Just like before, if the period won't work, the semicolon also will not work. H adds in this is, which would make that be two separate sentences. So that would create a comma splice run-on. So the answer is J. You just need the comma there to separate the independent clause from the dependent clause. Passage 9. Beautiful, glamorous, and mysterious, Saturn's rings are among the most recognizable features in the solar system. While the solar system's other three gas giants, Jupiter, Uranus, and Neptune, have rings orbiting around them, Saturn is by far the largest and most spectacular. So when you've got an interrupter like this, just ignore it. We need to look and see if we have one or two complete sentences. While the solar system's other three gas giants have rings orbiting around them. This is not an independent clause because while makes that dependent, that subordinating conjunction. So the comma actually works here. We still need the subject. So G doesn't work because it removes the subject. H can't work because we don't have the complete sentence, so we don't need the semicolon. And we know we don't have a fanboy following a semicolon anyway. So that was wrong for two reasons. And by doing the comma fanboy, that's the same as a semicolon, two complete sentences, so J is also wrong. Just the comma. 10. I've never been the world's most adventurous eater. For most of my childhood, I ate plain noodles with butter or grilled cheese, while the rest of my family dined on chicken cacciatore or grilled salmon. Occasionally, my parents persuaded me to try a few bites of a new dish, but I could never bring myself to finish an entire plate of asparagus or steamed mussels. So that crazy long sentence was hard to read. We definitely need a sentence ender because we got two complete sentences. The only one with the ender is B. The rest are all run-ons. Last year, however, I was invited to spend a month in Dijon, France as an exchange student. I would live with a local family and attend classes at a nearby high school. So remember that comma fanboy equals a period. So you have to check, can you just start the sentence with attend classes at a nearby high school? And you cannot because there's no subject there. So F does not work. We do not need that comma. And then G is the answer. It just takes out the comma. You don't want to randomly change the verb form. If you read it, it sounds weird. I would live with a local family and attending classes. And then J is wrong because it makes with which I would, it makes it look like he would attend the family, which is not what the sentence is trying to say. Number 3, although I'd studied French for several years, not a complete sentence because, again, that's subordinating conjunction. So you definitely cannot have the semicolon there. If you can't have a semicolon, you can't have a period. But you do need something. You need that comma. Although I'd studied French for several years, I had never traveled to a French-speaking country. You have to have the comma there. Dependent clause, comma, independent clause.